So for the case study, our last case study for this module, I chose an extrapreneurship endeavor, similar to the first case study that we talked about in the first module. And this one is called Catalyst 2030. It is an extrapreneurship initiative that accelerates progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, what do I mean by that? According to the Social Progress Indicator, the Sustainable Development Goals, like the SDG targets, are more likely to be achieved by 2082 than by 2030. And that's really scary. One of the reasons is insufficient funding. There's not enough of it. It's very fragmented. It's often provided in year-long increments, and it's not focused on collective action and systems change. So social entrepreneurs from around the world and some of the key organizations that support them came together to change this. Their theory of change is that working together can influence others and can change the funding environment. So they have a specific goal. And they started out, they have a specific goal, but they have like an unusual trajectory, which I love, and which is the whole point of this case study. So they started out by building a membership to create a collective voice. The first pillar of members' work was to shift power dynamics by educating donors and influencing behaviors. For example, they launched an awards program for funders who are finding new ways to invest in equilibrium change and equity. Another activity was the creation of the People's Report. This is the first global report composed of grassroots voices rather than people who work at the UN, in 43 languages. And their goal was to share this at the UN General Assembly, the People's Report, instead of the other way around. Information coming from the people to the UN instead of the other way around. So there's no CEO or executive director or anything like that. There's a chief facilitator. Her name is Jaru Bilamoria. She's a social entrepreneur herself. So I asked her if this is rather idealistic. Like, aren't the countries that need the most social innovation the places where it's the most difficult to work with governments to support social innovators and create an enabling environment? And she admitted that not all governments are open to these changes. But in her previous work, in her previous organizations, she said that 30% of entrepreneurs were able to create policy change. And this is in line with findings from other organizations. Like we talked about Ashoka, their annual report said 83% of entrepreneurs were able to contribute to new policies. And so she's hopeful that this can work. And one of their first reports was an outline of 5 ways that governments can act to create supportive ecosystems that unlock the potential of systems social entrepreneurs, along with real-life examples from diverse governments around the world. So there's evidence there. And they've had discussions with government representatives and systems social entrepreneurs about all this, and it was integrated into the report. So here are the 5 paths they outlined. 1, leverage the power of information by sharing and co-creating data. That sounds familiar, right? 2, build capabilities among civil servants and systems social entrepreneurs to enable mutual understanding and collaboration. Get entrepreneurs and government workers to work together. 3, develop funding models that recognize the characteristics of systems entrepreneurship. It's not like a one-year grant. 4, promote collaboration between public sector organizations and between the public, private, and social sectors. So you want people to collaborate within the government and beyond. And 5, foster institutionalization by co-creating or adopting successful innovations, like we talked about with the BRAC example. Now, when forming Catalyst 2030, I mentioned it was a really cool trajectory. So there were several ideological decisions that informed the strategy and the trajectory. First, they refused membership fees. They asked for volunteer hours instead, because this is basically a network of social entrepreneurs from around the world. Everyone's invited. So the last mile partners are less likely to be able to afford membership or transfer money around the world and anything like that. They were really careful to set up internal governance processes to prevent special preferences Everyone has to go through the same process to become a member, to attend meetings, to contribute to work. It doesn't matter if you're a famous social entrepreneur or wealthy funder. They hold monthly general assemblies, and this serves as a marketplace to exchange ideas and activities. And one of the things that Jeru told me was that the most difficult thing in this work might actually not be what you expect. She said the most difficult thing is that there's so much progress with the social entrepreneurs that she has a hard time keeping pace with the network. So my favorite thing about Constellation 2030 is the structure. It's literally structured like a constellation. So they didn't register a new organization. This is because they observed that most global organizations are registered in the global north, right? Like even if they're working in the global south, they're based in the US or the UK for fundraising. And this funding flow creates a power dynamic from north to south, from west to east, from high income to low income countries. So instead, they operate as a virtual network. Instead of a board, they started with an incubation committee. And they were formed by having multiple fiscal and operational sponsors. So these existing organizations, like Ashoka, Skoll, Schwab, and Echoing Green, support the administration of the network. And any funding is allocated to intermediary or regional organizations. And if you look at their structure, and this is from their website, and we have permission to share it, it literally looks like a constellation. It has team members living in South Africa, Panama, the US, all around the world. It's a distributed entity. They refer to a strategy journey rather than a plan, indicating ongoing evaluation and change. And their goal is to exist until 2030. That's it. So Jeru characterizes it as a mix between a sector body, a movement, and a social enterprise. And I thought it would be a great case study to end with because it's a reminder of being part of something bigger than yourself, of reinventing the structures that propagate the status quo, of working with others and connecting within and beyond sectors, and literally being part of a constellation.